In the shadows of New York City's criminal underworld, there existed a man whose smile could charm you one moment and seal your fate the next. A man who rose from the depths of an orphanage to become one of the most feared figures in organized crime. This is the story of Jimmy Burke, the mastermind behind the largest cash robbery in American history at the time. Born to an Irish prostitute and abandoned at the New York foundling home, Jimmy Conway's early life was marked by darkness. Bouncing between foster homes, enduring abuse, and finding solace in the streets, he would emerge as a figure so legendarily ruthless that even Robert De Niro would portray him in the iconic film Goodfellas. But the Hollywood version only scratched the surface of the real Jimmy Burke, a man whose capacity for violence was matched only by his genius for criminal enterprise. A man who could order the murder of his closest friends while maintaining a facade of friendship that kept everyone guessing about his true intentions. Jimmy Burke, a legendary figure in New York City's underworld, was a complex individual whose character was often defined by conflicting traits. Renowned for his charisma, ruthlessness, paranoia, and occasional acts of generosity, Jimmy was immortalized in the 1990 film Goodfellas, portrayed by Robert De Niro. His enigmatic persona left many of his criminal associates guessing about his true intentions. Described as someone who could charm you with a smile while simultaneously plotting your demise, Jimmy's true nature was a mystery to most. He maintained a facade of friendship while harboring a capacity for extreme violence towards those who crossed him. This dichotomy was exemplified by his willingness to order the murder of his closest confidants, as seen in the case of his own best friend, whom he dispatched despite having recently enjoyed his hospitality. While Goodfellas is widely considered to be a faithful portrayal of Jimmy's life, it only scratches the surface of the complexity and darkness that defined his character. Today, we delve into the captivating saga of Jimmy Burke, whose life story unveils a riveting tale of ascent and downfall. Born James Conway on July 5, 1931, in New York City's Bronx borough, Jimmy's origins were shrouded in mystery. His mother, Jane Conway, an Irish prostitute, left him at the New York foundling home, rendering Jimmy unaware of his true parentage. Jimmy spent the first 11 years of his life in a Catholic orphanage for boys, followed by numerous stays in various foster homes where reports from psychiatric social workers indicated he endured physical and sexual abuse. By the age of 12, Jimmy had been adopted by several foster families, making it difficult for him to remember many of their names or faces. At 13, while returning home with his latest foster parents, Jimmy started misbehaving in the back seat. Jimmy's foster father, known for his strict discipline and quick temper, lashed out at him while driving, leading to a fatal car crash. His foster mother, blaming Jimmy for the accident, began to subject him to regular beatings. Despite Jimmy's pleas to the child care agency to relocate him, they hesitated due to his history of multiple relocations. Left with no viable alternative, Jimmy increasingly spent time on the streets, engaging in petty crimes like shoplifting, theft, vandalism, and breaking and entering. Just 2 months after the crash, he faced his first arrest for disorderly conduct at a local playground, though the charge was later dropped. However, within a year, he was convicted of burglary after stealing over $200 from a nearby house, resulting in a 6-month sentence at a juvenile detention center. Jimmy's life became a cycle of incarceration during his formative years, with brief spells of freedom between the ages of 16 and 22, totaling a mere 86 days. However, A ray of stability pierced through the chaos when Jimmy found himself welcomed into the Burke family home in Queens, New York. Here, he experienced the warmth of parental love and respect for the first time, prompting him to adopt their surname as his own. He maintained a close bond with his foster parents, visiting them faithfully on Mother's Day and Father's Day for the remainder of his life. Despite the newfound stability, Jimmy's criminal inclinations persisted. At 17, he forged a friendship with Dominic Sassani, a local gangster affiliated with the Gambino crime family. Together, they delved into various illicit enterprises, including gambling and loan sharking. However, their primary focus was on creating and cashing fraudulent checks. In September 1949, Jimmy's criminal activities caught up with him when he attempted to cash $3,000 worth of counterfeit checks at a Queens bank. Arrested on the spot, Jimmy endured brutal interrogation tactics at the hands of police, who sought to coerce him into implicating Dominic. Despite enduring physical abuse, Jimmy remained steadfast, refusing to betray his friend. As a result, prosecutors placed the full weight of the counterfeit check scheme on him. Sentenced to 5 years in Auburn Maximum Security Prison at the age of 18, Jimmy faced his initiation into the harsh realities of adult incarceration. On his first day behind bars, he was met by a group of intimidating inmates, all allies of Dominic, who commended him for his silence during interrogation. They extended their protection to him and assured him of their support if he encountered any trouble within the prison walls. During his time in custody, Jimmy forged alliances with fellow Mafia affiliates, leveraging his charm to cultivate strong bonds that would prove invaluable in his future criminal endeavors. Rumors circulated about Jimmy's involvement in various underworld activities, including carrying out murders on behalf of influential Mafia figures with whom he shared confinement. Upon his release in 1954, Jimmy's foster father facilitated his entry into the labor force as a bricklayer. The grueling physical work sculpted Jimmy into a formidable presence, standing at 6'3" and weighing 250 pounds. His transformation caught the eye of Paul Vario, a capo in the Lucchese crime family who had received glowing recommendations from Dominic about Jimmy's work ethic and discretion. Under Paulie's guidance, Jimmy transitioned into roles as a loan shark and debt collector, where his charisma and persuasive skills proved invaluable in expanding his criminal enterprises. Jimmy's success caught the attention of Paulie, who granted him permission to establish his own gambling enterprise in Queens' Ozone Park neighborhood. Jimmy's notoriety soared when he administered a brutal punishment to a debtor who refused to settle his gambling debts, breaking every bone in the man's face. This display of ruthless enforcement bolstered Jimmy's reputation, enabling him to swiftly expand his operations and become one of Paulie's top earners. Despite his lucrative contributions to the underworld, Jimmy's Irish heritage barred him from attaining full membership in the Mafia, reserved exclusively for those of Italian descent, with lineage tracing back to the old country. Undeterred by this limitation, Jimmy earned a fearsome reputation as one of New York's most formidable figures. This reputation was cemented in 1962 when he crossed paths with Michelle Morong. Their relationship took a dark turn when Michelle confided in Jimmy about her harassment by an ex-boyfriend. Jimmy confronted the man, but his warnings were met with defiance. Unfazed, Jimmy returned with a chainsaw days later and gruesomely dismembered the aggressor. The police, although convinced of Jimmy's involvement, lacked concrete evidence to link him to the crime, which was discovered on the same day as Jimmy and Michelle's wedding. With law enforcement closely monitoring his every move, Jimmy emerged as one of the most menacing figures in the city. While his gambling venture in Ozone Park thrived, he recognized the untapped potential offered by its proximity to JFK International Airport. Many of his debtors were airport employees, presenting Jimmy with an opportunity to expand his criminal enterprises. Jimmy devised a scheme where indebted employees would tip him off about valuable cargo leaving the airport, allowing him and his crew, including Tommy DeSimone and Henry Hill, to hijack the trucks and steal the goods. Employing a blend of intimidation and bribery, Jimmy would then coerce the drivers into compliance, earning him the moniker Jimmy the Gent. With nearly $500 million worth of cargo passing through JFK annually, Jimmy's operation flourished, positioning him as the premier figure in airport theft. Utilizing fear as a potent tool, Jimmy instilled loyalty among his collaborators, with dissenters meeting gruesome fates as warnings. Corrupt officials on his payroll ensured any attempts at whistleblowing were swiftly neutralized. Union leaders and foremen who became suspicious faced similar consequences, their demise serving as a stark reminder of Jimmy's influence and ruthlessness. When Jimmy's collaborators faced termination for their involvement in the hijackings, he utilized his connections with Paulie, who in turn enlisted Johnny Dio, the Lucchese family's union liaison, to protect their jobs by threatening strikes. This ensured the continued loyalty of his insider network. With his lucrative hijacking operations booming, Jimmy's services became so valuable that both the Lucchese and Colombo crime families reached a historic agreement to share his expertise. This unprecedented collaboration between two Italian crime families further elevated Jimmy's status as a formidable force in the criminal underworld. In January 1967, Henry Hill, operating at the Air France terminal, received another valuable tip from Bobby "Frenchie" McMahon, the cargo foreman known for his collaboration with Jimmy. Bobby revealed that Air France regularly transported large sums of American cash exchanged for French currency, stored temporarily in the cargo office without adequate security due to ongoing construction. The untraceable cash, totaling $60,000 in each white canvas bag, presented an irresistible opportunity for a heist. Upon receiving the tip, Jimmy swiftly organized a team for the robbery. Henry, Tommy, and two additional accomplices armed themselves with pistols and arrived at the Air France terminal in rental cars with counterfeit plates. Their plan was to swiftly seize the money before making their escape. Upon arrival at the cargo office, Jimmy's crew quickly realized that their original plan was unfeasible due to the overwhelming presence of employees and the lack of manpower to subdue them. Despite the visible stacks of money inside, they left empty-handed that night. In the following days, Henry brainstormed with Bobby for an alternative approach. Bobby explained the security measures surrounding the newly completed cement storage room, emphasizing the guards' strict control over the only key. Recognizing the need for a discreet solution, the crew devised a plan to obtain the key, make a copy, and return it unnoticed. Bobby befriended the guard and arranged a night out at a local bar, providing the perfect opportunity for Henry and the others to execute their plan. While the guard was away, they swiftly acquired the key, made a copy, and discreetly returned it before the guard's absence was noticed. After an unsuccessful search for the key in the guard's apartment, Jimmy grew impatient, realizing that the guard kept it on his person at all times. Determined to secure their payday, Jimmy contemplated a plan involving kidnapping the guard, stealing the money, and eliminating him afterward. However, Henry's observation about the guard's penchant for adult magazines sparked Jimmy's imagination. A few days later, Bobby arranged a rendezvous between the guard and a Natalie Wood lookalike prostitute at the Jade East Motel near JFK. Bobby excused himself, leaving the guard and the woman alone in the room. Following Jimmy's instructions, the woman enticed the guard to join her in the private hot tub downstairs, ensuring the door remained unlocked. As the guard eagerly obliged, the woman slipped away momentarily while Henry swiftly located the guard's key ring hidden in his pants. With the key in hand, Henry dashed out of the motel and into Jimmy's awaiting car. The duo raced to a nearby locksmith to make a duplicate key. With the locksmith's help, Henry had duplicates made for all 18 keys on the guard's ring, ensuring they wouldn't miss the crucial one. Once finished, Henry swiftly returned to the motel and discreetly replaced the key ring without raising suspicion. Bobby later confirmed that the money was stored in the safe room, and with the key in their possession, Henry and Tommy effortlessly accessed the Air France cargo terminal. Inside the room, they retrieved $480,000 in cash and over $300,000 in jewelry. Before Jimmy could take his share, he had to kick up $100,000 to his capo, Paul Vario, and another $100,000 to Sebastiano Busta Aloy, the Colombo family's airport overseer. Jimmy's portion amounted to $60,000, which he invested in a bar near JFK called Robert's Lounge, a venue that would later gain notoriety as both a mob hangout and a burial ground for Jimmy's enemies. Despite the success of the heist, Jimmy's hijacking crew continued to target trucks leaving the airport, leveraging insider information for lucrative scores. Additionally, Jimmy maintained a profitable sideline in selling smuggled cigarettes throughout New York City, ensuring a steady flow of income beyond his hijacking endeavors. Jimmy's cigarette smuggling operation flourished due to the vast price difference between North Carolina and New York, a result of high taxes in the city. Leveraging this disparity, Jimmy orchestrated a sophisticated network of trucks shuttling cigarette cartons from North Carolina to New York, where they were sold at a significant profit. To aid in this endeavor, Jimmy recruited his longtime friend Dominic Cersani, with whom he maintained a close relationship, even vacationing together with their wives. However, Dominic's loyalty proved fleeting when he was apprehended by the police while transporting a truckload of illegal cigarettes. Despite Jimmy's previous discretion during his own interrogation, Dominic betrayed him to the authorities, divulging details of Jimmy's smuggling enterprise. Yet, Jimmy was not caught off guard, having received advance notice from a mole within the Brooklyn District Attorney's office. In a strategic move, Jimmy ensured that the truck intercepted by the police was empty when they inspected it, thwarting any incriminating evidence. Dominic, unaware of Jimmy's foreknowledge, extended an invitation for Jimmy and his wife to enjoy a complimentary trip to Florida. Seizing the opportunity, Jimmy orchestrated Dominic's demise, luring him into a fatal trap orchestrated by Tommy DeSimone. Tragically, Dominic fell victim to betrayal, meeting his end at the hands of those he once considered friends. Tommy's reputation as Jimmy's most notorious enforcer preceded him throughout the New York underworld, his hyper-violent and unpredictable nature making him a valuable asset in Jimmy's eyes. Despite occasional instances of excessive violence, such as an incident where Tommy fatally assaulted an uncooperative union representative, Jimmy refrained from reprimanding him, recognizing the potency of fear as a tool of control. Tommy's escalating instability facilitated Jimmy's manipulation, a dynamic Jimmy exploited when confronted with a significant dilemma in July 1970. With the release of William "Billy" Bats Benvena from prison, Jimmy faced the challenge of reclaiming Billy's loan sharking business, which he had seized during Billy's incarceration. However, as a made man, Billy posed a formidable obstacle to Jimmy's ambitions. During a party at Robert's Lounge celebrating Billy's release, a drunken Billy mocked Tommy, referencing Tommy's past role as a shoeshine boy for older mobsters like Billy. Tommy's simmering resentment provided Jimmy with an opportunity, and over the following weeks, Jimmy covertly stoked Tommy's fury. The culmination of this manipulation resulted in Tommy's brutal murder of Billy Bats, enabling Jimmy to retain control of the loan sharking business. Despite the success of his machinations, Jimmy's ascent to the top of the criminal underworld would soon face unforeseen challenges. Jimmy's golden days soon faded when Tommy landed in prison for truck hijacking, followed shortly by Jimmy and Henry incarcerated for assaulting a Florida bookie who had ties to the FBI. With their incarceration, the airport hijacking crew disbanded, cutting off Jimmy's primary source of income. Described by Henry as a degenerate gambler, Jimmy's mounting debts exacerbated his financial woes during his prison stint. Upon their parole release in July 1978, Jimmy faced pressing financial challenges due to his gambling debts. However, Henry's prison connections proved fortuitous when he befriended Philadelphia mobster Paul Mays, who proposed an unconventional scheme involving college basketball betting. The plan entailed betting against the spread in games where two members of the Boston College Eagles agreed to manipulate the margin of victory to fall short of bookmakers' odds. Henry and Jimmy placed discreet bets with various bookies nationwide to avoid suspicion. To execute the plan effectively, Henry enlisted the help of a trusted bookie acquaintance. With the stage set, Jimmy saw an opportunity to alleviate his financial strain and eagerly joined forces with Henry and Paul in the illicit scheme. In exchange for their assistance, the players received $2,500 per game, while Jimmy's crew raked in over $1 million throughout the season. However, an even more lucrative opportunity presented itself to Jimmy when Marty Krugman, the bookie, revealed a tantalizing tip from a client, Louis Werner. Werner, a shipping supervisor at JFK International for Lufthansa, had been drowning in debt due to his estranged wife-girlfriend loan shark and a hefty gambling habit. Owing Marty $20,000, Werner hinted at a colossal heist opportunity at Lufthansa's cargo terminal. Like Air France, Lufthansa transported untraceable American currency from overseas, stored in a vault. Werner claimed that during the night shift's lunch break at 3 a.m., the entire staff congregated in the employee lounge, leaving the vault vulnerable to a well-planned heist. Henry brought the tip to Jimmy, who wasted no time assembling a team of his most proficient hijackers. Knowing the risks involved, Jimmy meticulously planned every detail, aware that failure could result in lengthy federal prison sentences. Under the cloak of darkness on the evening of December 11, 1978, a nondescript black Ford van approached the perimeter of the Lufthansa cargo terminal at JFK International Airport. Its engine hummed softly, barely audible over the ambient sounds of the night. Inside the van, Tommy and Bobby McMahon, along with their masked accomplices, prepared for the meticulously planned heist that would soon unfold. As they neared the gate, Tommy's steady hand wielded bolt cutters, expertly severing the padlock that barred their entry. With a quiet click, the gates swung open, granting them access to the sprawling expanse of the cargo terminal. With practiced precision, they maneuvered the van into position, ensuring it remained concealed from prying eyes. With a nod from Tommy, the crew disembarked, their footsteps muffled by the soft crunch of gravel underfoot. Clad in masks to conceal their identities, they moved swiftly and silently, like shadows in the night. Their mission was clear: infiltrate the terminal, seize the valuable cargo within, and vanish without a trace. Inside the terminal, the dim glow of fluorescent lights cast long shadows across the deserted corridors. The air was thick with anticipation as the gunmen advanced, their senses heightened with every step. Suddenly, their path intersected with that of an unsuspecting employee, oblivious to the imminent threat lurking in the shadows. In an instant, the gunmen pounced, their movements swift and coordinated. The hapless employee was swiftly subdued, his protests silenced by the cold steel of a gun pressed against his temple. With practiced efficiency, they bound and gagged him, ensuring his compliance as they pressed forward. Their journey led them to the lunchroom, where 5 more employees unwittingly awaited their fate. With a calculated display of force, the gunmen seized control, methodically restraining each individual and rendering them powerless to resist. The room fell silent, save for the muffled sounds of struggle as the hostages were subdued. Interrogating the supervisor, the gunmen gleaned crucial information about the terminal's layout and personnel. Armed with this knowledge, they methodically located and secured the remaining employees, ensuring that no one could impede their progress. With the hostages under control, the crew turned their attention to the vault, the ultimate prize that lay at the heart of their audacious heist. Guided by the trembling hand of the manager, they approached the imposing steel door, its formidable presence a testament to the wealth it safeguarded. With a trembling hand, the manager inserted the key, the metallic click echoing in the tense silence of the room. As the heavy door swung open, revealing the tantalizing treasure within, a collective gasp escaped the lips of the gunmen. Before them lay 72 boxes, each brimming with the promise of untold riches. With the vault breached and their objective within reach, the gunmen wasted no time in securing their bounty. Each man sprang into action, methodically loading the crates of cash onto waiting carts, their movements swift and efficient. As the last box was loaded and the vault sealed once more, a sense of triumph washed over the crew. Their daring heist had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, securing a fortune that would forever alter the course of their lives. With their precious cargo in hand, they melted back into the shadows, vanishing into the night as swiftly as they had come, leaving behind only whispers of their audacious feat. Following Werner's instructions, the men swiftly loaded the stolen cash into the waiting van, their movements efficient and methodical. Forming a line between the vault and the vehicle, they passed box after box of money, their hearts pounding with the exhilaration of the heist. Despite the weight of their illicit haul, they worked with precision, driven by the promise of wealth beyond their wildest dreams. After over 30 minutes of intense labor, the last box was secured in the van, marking the culmination of their audacious robbery. With their precious cargo stowed away, they made their escape from the airport, vanishing into the night with the windfall that awaited them. Arriving at a Brooklyn safe house, they were greeted by Jimmy, the mastermind behind the operation. With meticulous care, the money was transferred from the van to the trunks of waiting cars, ready to be dispersed and laundered. However, the magnitude of their success surpassed even Jimmy's expectations, with the final tally revealing a staggering $5 million in cash, along with $800,000 in jewelry, an unprecedented feat in the annals of U.S. criminal history. But their triumph soon turned sour as the authorities swiftly closed in on their trail. Jimmy's reputation as the preeminent airport robber in the city made him an immediate suspect, and suspicions were confirmed when the getaway van was discovered just days later. Stax Edwards' negligence in abandoning the van in plain sight led to its impoundment by the police, who found damning evidence linking it to the heist. With the net closing in, the authorities sought to apprehend Stax Edwards in hopes of securing his testimony against Jimmy and his crew. However, before they could reach him, Tommy intervened on Jimmy's orders, silencing Stax forever. Despite Tommy's desperate attempt to protect their secrets, the FBI had already identified Jimmy and his associates as the prime suspects, marking the beginning of their downfall. Escalating pressure from law enforcement led to unprecedented surveillance on the Roberts Lounge crew, with helicopters and unmarked cars shadowing their every move. All their communication channels, from phones inside the lounge to nearby payphones, were tapped. Jimmy, gripped by mounting paranoia, feared that any misstep by his crew could expose him to the authorities. This paranoia intensified as Marty Krugman, incessantly demanding his share of the loot, became a looming threat. Convinced Marty might flip, Jimmy orchestrated his disappearance on January 6th, leaving no trace behind. To alleviate suspicion and offload cash, Jimmy ventured into the drug trade, purchasing $500,000 worth of cocaine from Florida dealer Richard Eaton. However, the product turned out to be counterfeit. In a brutal act of retribution, both Richard and his associate, Tom Monteleone, were found tortured to death in a meat freezer truck. As Jimmy sought to erase any link to the heist, no one deemed a potential threat was spared. Louis Kafora, a former associate turned liability, met a grisly fate. Just weeks after the heist, Louis, who had flaunted newfound wealth by buying his wife a custom pink Cadillac, was swiftly eliminated. As the FBI's investigation loomed, Louis and his wife vanished in March 1979, echoing Marty Krugman's mysterious disappearance. The following month, Joe Manri and Bobby McMahon, key figures from the Air France robbery, met a grim fate. Found dead in a parked car, both had been executed with shots to the back of their heads. In a chilling escalation, Gambino associate Paolo Lacastri, tasked with overseeing the heist's logistics, met a similar demise. His lifeless body, stripped and perforated by bullets, was discovered on a blazing trash heap. Jimmy's focus then turned to Louis Werner, a pivotal figure in the Lufthansa plot. Before Jimmy could act, however, law enforcement apprehended Werner. Facing charges related to the heist, Werner agreed to cooperate with authorities. But Jimmy had meticulously eliminated anyone who could implicate him, rendering Werner's cooperation futile. Ultimately, Werner stood as the sole individual charged in connection with the heist. Meanwhile, Henry faced his own legal troubles, arrested in April 1980 for drug trafficking. Sensing danger, Jimmy orchestrated a clandestine meeting, slipping Henry a matchbook with a Florida address. Urgently, Jimmy proposed a lucrative opportunity, beckoning Henry to the Sunshine State for a pivotal discussion. Henry's suspicions proved valid as he feared Jimmy's ulterior motives. Facing the daunting prospect of a lengthy prison sentence, Henry made a pivotal decision. He agreed to cooperate with law enforcement, entering the witness protection program in exchange for immunity. Henry's collaboration proved invaluable, providing authorities with crucial information about Jimmy, Paul Vario, and the Lucchese crime family. Though not directly involved in the Lufthansa heist, Henry's participation in the college basketball betting scheme and knowledge of Richard's murder implicated Jimmy in federal crimes. Consequently, Jimmy received a staggering 45-year prison sentence. Incarcerated at Wendy Correctional Facility in Alden, New York, Jimmy's health deteriorated, succumbing to lung cancer on April 13, 1996, at the age of 64. And thus concludes the saga of Jimmy Burke. If you found this account compelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.